All right, so Cyrus, I've got a quick question for you, and this will be a little bit of consumer advice for our listeners out there who may be in this situation. You and I, in our careers, we've done a lot of hiring before.
I have, yeah.
Interviewing for new candidates, that kind of thing.
Have you ever made anyone twitch, like their eyes kind of bug out on you?
If you hit them hard enough.
Okay. No, I didn't do that. But it's interesting. Sorry, go on.
So my question is advice from you. Have you ever, and how do you handle a situation where you're interviewing a vampire?
Oh, there was a documentary on how to do this. I think it was on the Business Channel. I didn't watch it all. It didn't meet my interest.
Okay.
First of all, you need to be aware. In some ways of interviewing, there's something called reflective communication.
Okay.
That doesn't work on a vampire. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 10, the Halloween edition of the FoundryCast. As always, I'm Cyrus.
And I'm Zach.
And we'd like to welcome you to a festive episode. We are in the lair.
Yeah.
We have dark candles to
Evil
help.
candles.
Now, is this summoning spirits or is this protecting us?
It's covering up the smell.
Okay. And we also, if you hear any noise, we do have candy.
We do have candy.
Butterfingers, Skittles, all kind of good treats. So if you hear us gnashing, and opening papers, we do apologize. We wish you could be with us, but
I apologize for nothing.
yeah, this is pretty tasty. We need some chocolate to get us through. But we want to talk a little bit about Halloween memories.
Yeah.
Some of our favorite things about this time of year. I heard someone today talking about Halloween not being a holiday. And they're saying, oh, this is my favorite holiday, is Halloween. And it's not a holiday, but is a... Because I always think holiday isn't the source of the word from holy day. And shouldn't that be sort of a religious connotation?
Well, I mean, if you want to get technical about it, we would say November 1st is a holiday. If you're Roman Catholic, that's All Saints Day.
Exactly. Or could it not... Is it not pagan? Is it not a druidic holiday of some kind? Or?
Something like that. I don't remember the exact derivation, but it's definitely some Western European native sort of thing.
I don't mean All Hallows Eve or the Day of the Dead. I'm talking straight Halloween.
Yeah.
The goofy costume evening that we all celebrate nowadays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, these days it's kind of become a combination of Harvest Festival and celebration and of excess and silliness and weirdness, kind of all rolled into one, which is really fun. Well, so Cyrus, let's just dive right into to Halloween. Tell me about, I don't know, what's your favorite memory growing up of Halloween? What did you enjoy doing? What do you like about the holiday, especially from your past, back when you were a kid?
Well, I have two very distinct memories from Halloween that are... They're kind of connected, but they're set almost a decade apart. And the first was when I was, 5, 7, 8 years old, somewhere around in there. My mom and stepdad would throw Halloween parties at their house. And they had a pretty decent-sized house out where a lot of people could gather with a big, driveway so everyone could show up.
Yeah.
And it was full on with the Monster Mash music, with decorations, with themed food.
Yeah.
Everybody, and I mean everybody, came in costume. So I remember that my mom and stepdad would throw the party, and then some aunt or uncle would pick us up, and we'd go trick-or-treating with a cousin, and then we'd come back, and we'd see all these drunk adults wearing crazy costumes. I remember this was still when it was okay to wear trash bags and be California raisins.
Sure.
My mom and stepdad were absolutely sexy version, or they looked like perfect and great as Morticia and Gomez Addams.
Oh, I thought you were going to say sexy Californian raisins.
Sexy California raisins. They'd slimmed down. They had really been working on their core. But no, Morticia and Gomez, my mom had beautiful, long black hair. And so being a kid and looking at like the magic of... It's scary, but it's okay, and it's kind of fun, and you don't really need to worry about it because you're at a safe place where the creepy crawlies are far, far away. They even made out of... like plaster of Paris or something, this full-sized witch with glowing eyes that would sit up on the roof and look down at people as they trick-or-treated, or have it facing to the road for people driving by. It was really cool and it was really creepy. And then fast forward, and we moved into a different house. That's when I made a lot of friends in our neighborhood. And we had the classic walking around the whole neighborhood, getting candy with your friends, having a little bit of some sort of spooky thing going on. But it was more about getting out and being with other kids. And I just remember being able to be out all night, not worried about a thing, because this was a safe neighborhood. It was a safe time. And some of my neighbor buddies, they would wear 2 or 3 costumes that hit the neighborhood up twice.
Right.
Because these old people don't know who these kids are.
Yeah, you switch costumes with your brother.
Yeah, you take my headband and I'll wear your shield and we'll be totally something else. And then just stock up on candy. And then we'd sit in the living room. We'd all dump our candy out.
Pile.
Mom and Dad would make sure that there's no razor blades or whatever.
No, my parents never did that.
And then we would wheel and deal. It was like a game of poker.
Oh, yeah, you trade, yeah.
I'll take 2 of those for one of these because I know you like it. Oh, it was so much fun. What memories do you have?
Yeah, no, it's similar. I think, like, looking back to memories of Halloween, like, every year is different, where there were some years where it was me and my brother by ourselves in our costumes going through the local neighborhoods. There were some years where I went and met up with friends in different neighborhoods. You know, I can remember one year where one of my friends lived in kind of a fancy neighborhood, you know, the rich people neighborhood. We went over there, and there were
that a full candy bar neighborhood?
Some of them were.
I've heard of those. I've never been to one.
Some of them were, yeah.
Wow.
But it was. I remember walking around because, like, there were almost every, you know, there are multiple streets in the subdivision. Basically, every street had the house where it was ultra decorated and they were having their party.
Yeah.
So, but like, you'd see all, you know, kind of what you're talking about. You'd see all these different, like, crazy decorations. And I remember one time going up on the porch of this one house that was completely decked out, and you could tell it was the owner of the house, and he was planning this. There was a coffin. He was laying in the coffin, and he had a mask on. So he was still as a corpse. It looked really, you know, so he looked like just a dummy. And I remember walking up, and I was a really cautious, deliberate kid looking down. And I remember looking down, I could see through the mask. I could see human eyes. And he caught my eyes, and he could see me, that I was looking at him. And I kind of gently walked past, locked eyes with him, got my candy, walked back. But then the next kid behind me, they weren't paying attention. As soon as he got next door, boom! Guy woke up, grabbed him, you know. So, yeah, that was a fun memory. It's almost Halloween is almost like a block party sort of holiday where everybody kind of gets together, and not in the same way where it's everybody's hanging out and getting to know each other. Everybody is hanging out and you don't know each other, and that's fun in a way where everybody's in costume and everybody's just sort of being weird and themselves and different.
Well, here's the crazy thing, and you just reminded me of that. At the top of the neighborhood was one house, and the person ended up much later being my band director.
Okay.
And he was wearing this crazy mask, you know, just normal clothes but a mask, maybe had a hatchet, I don't know. And he took off his mask, and he was actually creepier looking underneath because he sort of had these bug eyes that I had never seen the man's face before. He took off his mask. I screamed and ran away. I'm like a second grader at the time. I'm like, trick or treat. I don't even know what I'm wearing. Maybe I'm a ninja. And then I see his human face. I'm gone. I'm back in the car.
And then 10 years later, when you were in band and you couldn't get past 8th chair, you just couldn't figure out why.
He's like, yeah, I know who you are.
I
know what house you live in. 8th chair trumpet. And there were only like 8 trumpets. I'm doing pretty good on this solo.
There were only 6. They wouldn't even give you a trumpet. You just had to stand behind the other trumpeters.
I had to hide behind the trumpets. Like, there isn't even a 4th part to play. Yes, you're silent.
It's like an Enemy of the Gates where every other soldier gets a rifle and you're following the other guy with a trumpet, and when he dies and drops his trumpet, then you get to pick up the trumpet.
Finally, I get to play.
Anyway. Yeah, no, Halloween has really happy memories as a kid, and I think it's interesting, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more as we go on to the night, how Halloween is a different holiday when you're a kid and when you're an adult.
Has it changed? I don't know if it has.
In terms of like how it is for kids today and how it was for kids for us?
Well, granted, maybe I come from a place, and I hate to use the word, of privilege. My sister lives in a pretty nice neighborhood, and last year we went with the kids. walked down the lane. They got to walk up to the houses. Some people were playing. Some people had the lights off and the doors shut, and don't come over here. And one of them had these bright, light-up eyes on a mask and would scare the kids and chase them down the road. And it was a lot of fun. It was the closest thing I've experienced to being a child on Halloween since I was a child. I think that in pockets, it still exists.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I don't get out and trick-or-treat, obviously, anymore. I don't have kids, so I don't have kids to take.
Candy.
More candy. Always more candy. I don't know. I think it has changed to a certain extent. I remember as a kid, we would once in a while get a trick-or-treater in the daylight, but it was because it was a 3-year-old kid, and they had to go to bed. These days, most kids get started before the sun goes down. And it doesn't make sense to me. When we were kids, we would start trick-or-treating at dusk. As the sun started to go down, we would do our local street. Because we knew everybody. They would want to see us and take pictures of us in our costumes. And, then once we'd finished the street, at that point it was dark. And now it was time to go. And here's the big difference, I think, between Halloween then and Halloween now. Halloween then, we went by ourselves. I mean, I was 8 years old probably, and me and my brother were off by ourselves, no parental escort, walking through the woods to get to other neighborhoods. It wasn't even like I didn't grow up in like a nice subdivision with we had to hike to get to other neighborhoods.
This was the era where Stranger Things was reality.
Exactly, yeah. Watching Stranger Things was a lot of fun. A lot of people talk about, it's so retro, and there's a lot of fun references to 80s stuff, but like that aspect of it is really real.
The autonomy of children to go and do.
Parents trusted kids to go, and that would lead to a greater discussion about 80s versus today anyway, and why growing up in the 80s was so great is like movies in the 80s encouraged that kind of thing, encouraged kids to be independent and strong,
explorers,
and deal with tragedy and deal with bad things, which I don't think kids do much anymore. But nowadays, okay, even if you kids go trick-or-treating at the dark, they still have their parents drive them to a fancy neighborhood, and there's a couple neighborhoods I know here in our city where like everybody goes, and it's a struggle to get a parking space.
Oh wow!
Because that's where everybody goes, because it's a safe place where everybody, And
I remember for a time, did they do this where they would open up the mall and then have like if you wanted to set up a booth at the mall as just a parent or someone in like a neighborhood, you could set up a booth to give out candy, or the stores would give out candy as a safe place for kids to go and trick-or-treat. Have you seen that before? Yeah,
I'm kind of okay with that, because then it gives you a base of opportunity to build up and make a spooky place. I appreciate that aspect of it, but even then, you should drop your kids off and go somewhere else. And let them, I don't know. The whole like... it's dangerous, you can't let kids do anything anymore. Well, no, you can and you should, because otherwise they're not going to learn how to be adults.
I don't know. I think the world has gotten a little more dangerous.
Has it?
Where at least the veil is off, and we can see the dangers that we didn't know before. I could go online right now and tell you what people with sexual charges live near us or are right up the street. You couldn't do that in 1985. You just knew, there was that weird guy who lived down the road.
Stay away from his place.
Just stay away from his place. Yeah. It doesn't... I think our perspective has changed.
Yeah.
Even if the world hasn't, it just seems scarier. And I am not currently a parent, but I could imagine to one who is be like, I'm not letting you out of my sight. I don't need to. We can buy all the candy we want. You can wear costumes with your cousins. We can watch TV, and that's all we need to do.
Yeah, but here's the thing. And, a lot of what we're going to talk about tonight is probably about watching stuff and eating candy and costumes. Yeah. But be honest, for me, looking back at Halloween, the core of what Halloween is, as a kid at least, isn't about the candy. Well, it is about the candy, but it isn't about the candy. It isn't about the costume. It isn't about the scary movie. It is about it's your one night to be independent. Your one night to go out, and there is an element of danger, and that's what makes it exciting and fun. And so, if you're saying, well, let's take that away, but you can still have the candy and the costume, well, then all it is a consumerist holiday like Valentine's Day, where it's
Right.
all about eating candy.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that's the worst thing in the world. For Halloween, Valentine's Day, yes, let's strike that. Let's never do that again. But if it is dangerous, there's the controlled danger, and it's like it's okay to be afraid. Tonight, it's okay to watch the scariest movie possible. It's okay to be drunk on sugar, caffeine, so that you
always okay.
so that you're comatose the next day when you go back to school, because it should be a federal holiday where it's a Friday, is like the last Friday in October is our Halloween.
I think schools should always be closed the day after Halloween. Yeah,
but it's the time where you can be scared and let someone scare you. If what's happening right now locally even is all the people wearing creepy clown costumes popping out of the woodwork. In one instance where someone's trying to invite kids into the woods, and I think that was not necessarily someone being a pervert. They were just trying to be scary.
They're
I'm not saying they're harmless, but
they're trying to be trolls. I mean, we've talked about this.
They're trying to troll
this topic before. Yeah,
but on Halloween, if you wear a scary clown costume, no one's calling the police,
right?
Because it's a controlled fear environment. This is when you sort of test your limits and what scares you. Can I go to the haunted house? Locally, in the next city over, they had a haunted trail that went back through the woods, and so
people jump out at
you. People jump out at you out of trees. A guy runs up with a chainsaw. It was legendary. You brought up a memory. The next door neighbor to me, a good friend of mine to this day, her dad was, honestly, not the nicest man to me.
Yeah.
But he was a hell of a good, builder, and could make anything with his hands. And
sounds like
so
he
could
should
her
be a
mom.
member of the Foundry.
Right? No kidding. If he was still alive. He would make, and his wife. I mean, they both spent almost all of October building this sort of threshold from the sidewalk up to the front door, and it was like a haunted mine.
That's pretty cool.
And it was about 15, maybe 20 feet long some years, with the sack of gold and it was amazing. And so by the time you got to the door, you were well and truly scared as an adult.
Yeah.
And I remember that being back. These are my neighbors. I know who they are. I hang out with the kids every summer. My sister was maybe going to marry the brother. I don't know. We were that close. And I was still scared. Yeah. But it was safe enough. I could feel scared and let myself be afraid and reach my hand in the candy jar where I know a hand is going to grab me, but I do it anyways. Yeah. I push myself. Yeah. I think we're losing some of that. It's more about what's the cool Disney Channel show. Let me have a costume about that. It's not about being scary. It's about being cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope that maybe we can look for technology to improve this. Here's a proposal, just literally off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I think that we should invest in a company that's designed to. They have a set of drones that fly on Halloween, right? You tag your kid. You give them a bracelet, right?
I like
just
this.
A little bracelet.
I have a feeling where you're going.
Just a little bracelet.
Yeah, just little.
And parents can sit in the comfort of their home, track their kids. The drones are watching them. You can look and check in on your kids. They're halfway through the woods to the next neighborhood. So, from a parent's perspective, your kids are safe. You're watching them. They're okay. There are eyes on them. Nothing's going to happen to them. But from a kid's perspective, they had no idea. They just got a bracelet. All they know is their parents gave them a bracelet to wear. To them, they're still an element. And that's what it is. As a kid, looking back to what I was talking about, my experience as a kid, hiking through the woods, going to different neighborhoods, going far afield as far as I was concerned. My parents knew where I was, and they knew who I was talking to, because they knew everybody. Yeah. They knew I was safe. They knew people were going to watch out for me. They knew I was safe, but in my mind as a kid, I didn't know it. And that's the element that isn't there anymore, I think, is that for kids, they know they're in a mall. They know they're in a constructed haunted house. They know they're safe. Yeah, there's spooky, scary stuff, but they know they're safe. The great thing about Halloween as a kid, when I was a kid, was that you didn't know that you were safe. It was literally an adventure. It was your chance to live the Goonies in real life. You were going out doing crazy stuff and seeing things. And I'm independent. I'm 8 years old, but I'm independent. And that was really an important experience, I think, growing up.
I agree, but I disagree with your drone idea.
Okay.
I think you're the absolute wrong way of looking at this.
Okay.
they need to be wearing their Fitbit or their Apple Watch. And they do now have drones that will follow you around and watch
you. Yeah.
But it needs to have some glowing red eyes on it. So they don't know it's there until it swoops in and scares the bejesus out of them.
Okay.
So that's the tech. And then it could leave and go to some other kid, and it's like a delivery service. It's like a Fright Night delivery.
You know what?
Fright by Night.
This could work. I was just watching a dude on YouTube who built he built a, I want to say like 100 watt or 600 watt LED light. I mean, daylight for 500 yards, like this huge, ultra bright light. He mounted it on a drone. And that thing, when it clicks on, legitimately looks like a UFO. It lights up the area underneath it brighter than daylight. And I'm like, wow, I kind of want to get one of these for Halloween. That's great to buzz some kids with this UFO-looking thing. Oh, man.
So now we are the creepers in the neighborhood waiting to scare kids.
We're the dude in the clown outfit now, and now we're going to go to Google.
Man, now we're clown trolls. I knew it would come to this. So speaking of candy, I'm eating one of my new favorite candies, and that's Sixlets. What? I've seen the Sixlets. They're the little chocolate candies. They're basically the cheap version of M&M's.
I've never had these before.
You have
Sixlets.
Yes, you did because you went to my wedding.
Oh, were they at your wedding?
That's why. This is my opinion. Sixlets has seen a huge resurgence because of do-it-yourself wedding planning, where you can go online, you can go to a website, and here are some ideas of how to do your own wedding decorations. And
I've got criticism for the Sixlet folks.
Yeah,
make your package easier to open.
Nah, I just like rip it.
Who makes these folks? Sweetworks Confections. Okay.
But what's cool about Sixlets is the company can do any color.
Okay. So
M&M's does the same thing, but they're way more expensive. And you can customize M&M's to put your name on it, your face on it. But Sixlets you can get at craft stores in any color. Okay. So they're a bit more customizable.
Yeah.
And it is kind of a cheaper chocolate, but to me, at the moment, cheaper chocolate tastes better than what they're putting in most candy bars because they're changing the way the sugar and the fat goes
most
into
candy
it.
Bars are bad chocolate. So.
But when we grew up, candy was, I think, the best of all time.
Pure sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was some that we always would argue for, or if we knew this person was giving out the full size, candy bar, would go there.
There was a neighborhood, and this is why I keep talking about hiking. There was a neighborhood we had to walk about half a mile through the woods to get to, but they were the ones who gave the full bars. It was always worth it.
That's my white whale. Never seen it.
Never had it?
Heard about it. And now I'm an adult. I'm a grown man. Yeah. And I walk by the candy aisle and I see where they sell like the $20 pack.
Yeah, they're very
expensive.
expensive.
I'm envious. I'm like, I want that, but I can't afford it. I'm not going to buy that. But I know someone is buying that somewhere near me.
Yeah.
That if I were to maybe trick or treat with my niece and nephew, maybe they could hook me up with a full size $100,000 or something.
Yeah, if I ever lived in a neighborhood where there actually were trick or treaters, which I've never done before because they all go to fancy neighborhoods and drive. Anyway, if I lived in a neighborhood where there actually were trick or treaters, I would invest the money to get the full size because I think that's important for you.
Well, I should this year because we had 0 trick or treaters last year.
Yeah, we had
not
0.
a single one. Yeah. And we had this bowl of candy, and my wife does this. She's adorable. She always gets pencils.
Yeah,
she's a teacher for
of course.
sake.
Yeah.
So she gets the cool Halloween pencil. And I haven't the heart to tell her until she hears this podcast I love the idea, but by the time the kids use it, it's November.
True.
So maybe like the Halloween pencil is a good idea. Maybe we go to the
she should give
turkey
you a Christmas
pencils.
Oh, okay. I was going to say Christmas.
Or Christmas pencil.
Okay. Well, I guess we can't do that. That's denominational. We got to be non-denominational. Yeah. So snowflake pencil.
Snowflake pencil.
Okay.
Then again, the Halloween pencils are way cooler.
Well, yeah, I used to use Halloween stuff all the way through spring. Are you kidding me?
Did you? You were a kid?
Oh yeah.
It's like January 7th.
Sure.
We're just back at school, and you're scribbling with your orange eraser, purple pencil.
If it was free, done.
No, I invested in Black Warrior pencils because they were best for pencil fighting.
Oh.
Because I was never good at it, but I was... I at least knew the game, and I knew you'll never win if you don't have a Black Warrior. Anyway, moving on from that. Candy...
Back to candy, yeah.
It's so crucial, and here is part of the... it's about the scares, but it's also about the candy. If you're not going home with at least one solid bag of something good, you're going to feel let down.
Yeah, as a kid, I think, I was talking earlier about how the core of Halloween for me as a kid is the adventure. The adventure, the quest, the goal of the quest, the throwing the ring in Mount Doom for Halloween, bag of candy. The quest is to get the bag of candy. So candy, I absolutely agree, is at the core, the integral portion of Halloween, at least as a kid.
What we should do is quit our jobs.
Okay.
Leave our significant others.
Done.
Create, because you said this, create candies based on achieving quests.
Yeah.
So there should be Triforce gummies.
Okay.
There could be some sort of, Master Sword chocolate bars.
All right.
Like any game that you've ever played, when you complete your Halloween quest and you go home, you have not a bag of candy, but a bag of loot, a bag of magical items that you can eat.
That you can turn around and eat.
Turn around and eat.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
We could probably get Blizzard in on this.
Sure, I'm sure. Blizzard, call us right now. I know you got my number.
They should have called us by now.
They definitely have my number because they charge me every month.
Yo, I know they have my number. I had to register it so that they could charge me every month.
But anyway, candy. Let's talk about candy. Let's talk about our favorite candies.
I didn't get in this till a little bit later, but I remember being fascinated by Twizzlers.
Yeah?
Because it was the only licorice that I could eat. Because I didn't really like black licorice, but this is like a cherry strawberry licorice that almost was like you had to rip it off and then you had this straw. And when I would go to the movies, then I did have a straw for my soda. But Halloween, I think they just started making the little packs, but they were still huge.
Yeah.
It was still kind of long.
Yeah.
Like 4 strips of Twizzlers. I always really enjoyed that. They make good whips too if you have a little sister.
Twizzlers are gross. Taste like wax.
Oh, they're a little waxy. You
Disgusting.
gotta spend some time with them.
They taste like wax lips.
What did you like?
Also disgusting. Growing up, favorite candy is, and probably still my number one Halloween candy, these boogers right here, Reese's Cups.
That's my number one too. I was holding off on talking about it, but it is
Reese's. They're doing this now where they do shapes, so these are little pumpkins, but
you want the cup.
I want the cup. Honestly, I like the pumpkins, but there's a lot more peanut butter in a pumpkin versus a cup. Cup is really well balanced between chocolate and peanut butter.
Yes. Freeze is better too.
Yeah. No, the full size peanut butter cup is the perfect candy for almost any situation. My favorite Halloween candy for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I could go on to a very long diatribe about Reese's peanut butter cups because in the time that I have known them, and I have known them well, they have changed both their peanut butter and their chocolate recipes.
And they've also shrunk.
They have shrunk a little bit.
Yeah.
I do remember, we're talking 1995, 96, I think, was the epitome of their flavor components.
Yep.
And something happened in the early 2000s where they said, let's get the cheapest chocolate possible.
Yeah.
That has no bite, no crispness to it anymore. They don't temper the chocolate the same way.
Yeah.
And the peanut butter is still tasty.
I like it.
But the closest thing you can get to the old style peanut butter cup is still the minis.
Yeah. I like. I will say, talking about how they've gotten smaller. I like the itty bitty teeny weeny tiny ones.
Yeah,
they come in the bag. What's great about them?
Those are pretty good.
They're not wrapped, so you just open the bag and pour them in your mouth.
There's still a little ratio issue though.
Yeah, I agree. But
speaking of, I'm going to eat one of these pumpkins right now.
The convenience is just through the roof. Talking about cheap chocolate though, I'm going to jump over and talk about a terrible candy.
Yeah.
Maybe not my absolute least favorite Halloween candy, but it's down there near the bottom. Hershey's chocolate is garbage.
I've developed a bit of a taste for it, but if you have commercial chocolate like Hershey's beside artisanal chocolate, you will not go back.
Yeah, like genuine, really nice milk chocolate with a good butterfat content and no preservatives.
44% malted milk chocolate.
Yeah.
Kicks the pants off of Hershey's.
Yeah, I don't know.
But if you're going to do a s'mores, you have to have Hershey's.
I don't like s'mores.
You don't like s'mores?
I don't like s'mores because I don't like marshmallow.
Are you a communist?
No. Well, yeah, but no.
Oh.
I don't like marshmallow.
Okay.
So I'm not a s'mores fan. They're messy. I don't like making them.
Well, I don't make them. Yeah, I'm not going to go home and make them. But if I'm at the campfire, s'mores.
I don't want to be messy around the campfire.
It's Americana, man.
Hot dogs are Americana, I think.
Hot dogs and s'mores.
No s'mores.
This is in the same category. We're talking cookout on the campfire.
Forget the s'mores. Oh my gosh, no.
Second place for me, and I still love it, is Kit Kat.
That's also my second place.
Man, it's
Kit-Kats
shareable, although you don't have to.
Yeah.
I remember when we used to go and play Pathfinder at Jeff's. Mm-hmm. I would get a Kit Kat, and I would always get the biggest one because I knew every person sitting around was like, "Oh, could I have two?"
Gotta have a stick.
And I'm like, "Well, it's the two." Cause
break me off a piece of that.
Break it up. Here's two. Here's two. Yeah, go ahead, guys. I'm showing you my love. Like, man, but if I got the king sized, I could break off half of it. Everyone gets some, and then I still have the other half. Mm-hmm. Which is still way too many Kit Kats.
What I like about Kit Kats is that, I don't know, for whatever reason, I guess the Kit Kat internal, the
wafer?
The wafer inside, because it's there, it's not chocolate, it's not overly sweet. Mm-mm. Kit Kats always felt less decadent, which is a good thing.
Like less cloyingly sweet?
Yeah. A Reese's Cup, you eat one, you're like, oh, that was a lot of sugar. A Kit Kat, you eat a whole Kit Kat bar and you're like, oh, that's tasty. It's nice and crisp and tasty.
I want to try the cream that's in between the layers.
Yeah.
Because it's chocolatey, but it's not chocolate.
It's not exactly chocolate.
But there's not enough where you can really get a taste for it and know, because it's kind of like somewhere between a nougat and a chocolate cream and like a vanilla cream. It's delicious.
It is. No,
then again, probably if you eat too much of it, it's too much.
Exactly, yeah. If you had too much of it, you would think it was not good. It's all about proportion and ratio.
We were talking about trading candies before. Yeah. I always really liked Sweet Tarts because you would typically get them in like a series of 3. Mm-hmm. And so you could trade them, this is 3 Sweet Tarts, but you only have 1 Dum Dum. Uh-huh. So I can maybe get 3 Dum Dums. I can break the pack open, but then you always got a variety, which I loved because it'd be all different rainbow of colors, and they did taste a little different. Yeah. As opposed to like Fruit Loops that are different colors and taste the same. Yeah, Sweet Tarts were always big for me.
You know what? I'm going to be controversial here. This is my hot take of the night. Any candy that is fruit based, no.
What?
Absolutely not.
None.
Get that crap out of my
bag. Not a single one.
Don't waste my time.
Not one.
I'm here for chocolate. Jolly Ranchers, #1 chief offender. Destroy them all. Get rid of them. They're garbage. They're terrible.
I would agree if you said get rid of them all except for peach flavored.
You can't chew them. They're not on a stick, so you can't really enjoy them.
It's still a candy.
They're terrible.
It's like a
They're
sucker.
Terrible. They're awful.
If I stuck a Jolly Rancher on a stick, would it then be okay?
Yes. Because then it's a lollipop, and that's fine.
This is a lollipop. This is stick-free lollipop. You don't got to mess with... Because the stick starts to melt.
I don't want it in my mouth the whole time. I want to be able to hold it sometimes and not be sucking on it.
That's true.
So here's the thing.
Can't argue that.
The exception to my no fruit candy thing, blow pops and Dum Dums.
So you said no fruit, but then you're throwing lollipops in there.
Lollipops are okay.
That's still
lollipops
candy.
Are delicious. But Jolly Ranchers, fruit stuff, taffy. Get that crap out of my basket.
Oh yeah, I will say one of the least favorite of mine is the Now and Laters.
Yeah.
Or Laffy Taffy.
Laffy Taffy.
Oh my gosh, it is pure food flavoring. You can't even remotely tell me that there's any kind of banana in this banana candy.
It tastes like chemical.
It is chemical.
Extruded chemicals.
Now the jokes were kind of funny. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the Laffy Taffy jokes, but no, I just ripped out the joke. Threw the candy away.
No, here's the thing. If I was at your house as a kid, you gave me Jolly Ranchers Laffy Taffy, your house is getting egged.
TP.
Congratulations.
I'm a TP.
Okay.
I like the eggs.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay.
I learned how to scramble at a young age, so I'll TP you in a heartbeat.
I'm willing to go either way, but you're getting the trick, not the treat.
You know what's funny is I've gotten these candy mixes before when friends come over, and some of our friends go ape over Whoppers, and I can't stand them.
Whoppers are okay.
You like it? I can't get it.
I don't go ape over them, but I'm alright with and because they got the chocolate in there. They got a little bit of sweetness. I like malted stuff too. So I appreciate them. I think they could be better, but they're not.
I don't get the malt.
I know there's a lot of people who hate Whoppers. I don't hate them. They're okay.
I'm there because it's like a malt flavored mothball with a little bit of chocolate around it.
I would say I think Whoppers would be better if they were soft. if they were chewy, not like sticky chewy, but like soft like nougat on the inside rather than crunchy.
I wouldn't be mad at that. Do you remember they had Butterfinger BBs? Sorry, you said round nougat because they had that, and they did Butterfinger. They had Reese's BBs at one point too.
They did, yeah. They're delicious.
Man, that was good.
I don't know if they sell them anymore. I haven't seen them in a while.
I haven't seen them in years.
But yeah, they're delicious. That's kind of, I think Whoppers would be improved using that. But yeah.
Anything else that you would just strike?
You know what? Any other terrible stuff? Actually, yeah, I have one other, and this is going to be, again, a controversial opinion. Oh, a spooky ghost train. Sorry, we had a spooky ghost train go by. Spooky ghost train.
Oh, how creepy.
Oh my God, I remember at Boy Scout camp, there was a train track that went right by.
Oh,
we always have the spooky ghost train.
That is always scary.
Spooky ghost train.
Well, it's not the train that's scary, but they're always like, someone will come up with a story like, no, my brother went here like 10 years ago when one of the Boy Scouts, he was in Eagle Patrol in 4022, and he was on the tracks, and he was just cream. They never found his head,
and they say it still floats around.
Yeah, and then somebody throws a volleyball at you. You think it's a head, and you scream.
That's Halloween. Anyway, back to my hot take. Here's another candy I strike off the list. This is going to be weird. Snickers.
Really?
And here's why. I love Snickers.
I feel like I don't know you very well.
Let me go on the record. I love Snickers. One of my favorite candy bars. Snickers are great.
What is it?
Here's the thing. I eat Snickers when I want a substantial snack. Because here's the thing. Snickers have got, like, peanuts. They're weighty. They've got oomph to them. They sit in your stomach. So I'm going to eat a Snickers if I'm, like, genuinely hungry and I need a snack. I need something to fill me up and get me going. I'm going to have a Snickers. Halloween candy? I don't want a little mini Snickers.
I can see that. Yeah.
They're too heavy.
I think a little mini Snickers, little fun size.
Little mini ones. No, I want the. No.
Yeah, if you're giving me a Snickers, I need to have a full bar. And I've actually gone dark. The dark Snickers triple X or not triple X. Whoa, it's like 3X because it's chocolate nougat. Yeah, chocolate instead of the caramel or whatever. And that is your energy booster. Yeah, I'm feeling down.
Yeah, they're delicious. But I think they're too heavy.
But you're okay with the other bars because I know you like Milky Way. So like a Milky Way fun size is still good.
Yeah, that's all right. Three Musketeers. Those are about as heavy as I think you should go there without having too much substance.
Well, I would toss out for good Raisinets.
Oh,
because again, we're talking fruit.
Yes,
but you're trying to shove raisins at me like it's Halloween candy.
Out of here.
No.
Same thing, this always makes me angry. Somebody will bring over a big plate of cookies, fresh homemade cookies, and they're still warm. And I'm like, cookies, yeah! Take a bite, and there's raisins in there.
Oatmeal raisin?
You're no longer a friend, get out of my life.
Now, if you're doing that at a fall party, we'll talk. I can deal with it, especially if I've got a coffee. That is a decent pairing as a cookie. But if you come to a Halloween party, and I think I see chocolate chunks... And it's shriveled grapes.
Here's the worst.
You don't even have the decency to make it into a wine. We have a problem.
Here's the worst. Some people will put both in there. I've had cookies before where there's both chocolate chips and raisins.
That's cruel.
You bite in, and all you get initially, you get chocolate. And you're like, oh, chocolate chip cookie. You take a bigger bite. Guess what? Raisins.
Pardon my Halloween French, but do you know what the hell that is? That's a raisinette cookie.
Garbage,
and I cannot stand it.
I'm on board. I'm on board with your banning of Raisinets.
Okay, so we at least have an agreement. We're going to ban Raisinette.
Absolutely.
We're undecided on the Whopper.
Yeah,
we're splitting down the middle with Snickers.
Yeah.
Now and later's any sort of sugary taffy kind of candy.
Get them out of
gone. Here. All right, so
okay. So here's one, and I'm almost always contrary on this one. Another hot take for the night.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Halloween candies, and always everyone hates, candy corn.
Yes, agreed.
You like candy corn?
No, I agree. You like candy corn?
Oh God, yes. I'll take all I can get. Actually, okay, I like candy corn. I love candy pumpkins. Taste the same, but they're little pumpkins.
I've had those before.
Oh gosh, yes.
I think it's because it's an indeterminate flavor that's sweet and waxy, and for the same reason you don't like wax lips or Twizzlers.
Yeah,
I have to veto.
I love candy corn. I like eating the candy corn's three colors. Orange, yellow, white. I like eating each layer by itself. Oh my gosh!
I have
love
one
candy
person,
corn.
and I'm not going to say exactly what I think about their intelligence. Say, why is it candy corn? As if they had never seen kernels of corn before in their life.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Well, to be fair, kernels of corn don't change color as you go down the length of them.
They sort of do.
Well, but they're
yellow,
not like
kind of semi-yellow and white at the tip. Come on.
It's not like 3 layers like a lollipop, though.
I have a way to break you of your affinity for that.
Oh yeah.
It's called candy corn Jones soda.
Ooh,
If you can ever find it and you drink it, you will never eat candy corn again.
Let's not start putting stuff into drink form. Like chocolate soda is disgusting. Get it out of here. It's awful. So no, let's not.
Maybe we'll save the Jones soda conversation for our Thanksgiving cast.
Okay.
Because I have a good story for you for
right.
next time.
Okay, we'll keep that in our reserve there. Anything else? You have any other candies you love or hate?
Here's one that I used to love that I can't stand anymore.
Okay.
And that's Tootsie Rolls.
Okay.
Because one, good tradability.
Yep.
They last forever.
Yeah.
And this was a time where you would get the Tootsie Rolls that were like 4 rolls in a row that were thicker.
You break them apart.
You break them apart.
Yeah.
That would be worth 2 mini candy bars in some instances.
Yeah.
So, yeah, tradability. And I liked it pretty good, but now you couldn't get me near a Tootsie Roll.
I bet Tootsie Rolls on the same level as Whoppers, where I could live with them. You know, those are the
Take them or leave them.
Those are the things that when you got your pile of candy, you kind of push to the back, and you're going to eat your Reese Cups and your Kit Kats first. The next day, when you're like, I wish I had some more Reese Cups. Well, okay, at least I've got Tootsie Rolls.
And they will last you till Easter.
Yeah, exactly.
They're
And
pretty.
then you can get more Tootsie Rolls at Easter.
Then you get more Tootsie Rolls, and we'll save our Easter candy for the Easter
Easter cast.
Well, we'll do a Palm Sunday cast, and that will cover the Easter cast.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know.
Fair enough. Well, yeah, I tell you what, I'll say one more bit of candy. And in preparing for the episode tonight, I realized I haven't had one in, I genuinely don't know how long. Probably since the last time I went trick-or-treating. But one of my favorite things to get while trick-or-treating, Crunch Bar.
I love Crunch Bar.
I love me a Crunch Bar.
Is Crackle okay?
Crackle works.
I mean,
Crackle came in
the
bag with the other. See, that was the thing when you bought the bag, and it had the Hershey little mini Hershey's,
Dark,
and it had the mini dark Hershey,
Mr. Goodbar.
It had Mr. Goodbar.
Oh man!
And then the Crackle. So you ate all the Crackles, and then you
I would go Crackle, Goodbar, and then this is before I got into Hershey's Dark. Yeah. Now I could do some Hershey's Dark just because it's a cheap dark chocolate.
Yeah, it's
and
true.
I'm usually drinking wine with it.
Okay, fair enough. It's better than their milk chocolate. I agree with
way
that.
better than the milk chocolate.
But no, Crunch Bars and to a lesser extent Crackle, but especially Crunch Bar. When was the last time you had a Crunch Bar? I can't even remember.
Yeah, I actually had a Crunch Bar about a year ago.
Oh, okay. Well, they used to be
going to the movie, snuck it in my sock.
It used to be a thing. They used to be big.
Huge.
Big hunk, and they always had like Back to the Future. I remember it was on Crunch Bar. And
wow!
You crack them up.
I've only had the Crunch Bar, Rain Crunch Bar. Okay. It said Crunch on it. I've never had like movie previews on a Crunch Bar.
They always used to have movie stuff on there, like Pepsi.
You must have gone to the cool theater.
Yeah, it was the van down in the street. The guy's van.
Oh, we need to talk about that, sir. That's why you like candy corn.
That's what we're talking about. Candy.
Oh.
Free candy.
As we've said, with Halloween comes frights and spookiness. So I think it's fun for us to talk about what does scare us on Halloween and what we like to do. And I was thinking about video games that have scared me.
Yeah.
And one of the ones that gave me the most of a almost heart attack was Resident Evil 4. It's one of the first Resident Evil games that I got to play from very beginning to the very end. Explore, and just the weight of the world, the heavy dark theme, the saturation of texture that they were able to get into, even a GameCube game, was phenomenal. And I remembered all of the jump scares were well and truly earned. And the design of, like, okay, it's a zombie, but then their head bursts and there's this weird whipping tendril.
Yeah, they're like biological zombie kind of like infected things. Yeah.
But it still had some sort of spiritual parallel that they're not all the way going to explain, and I thought it was pretty damn freaky. And the further you go, it seemed like the worse it got. The less you could expect around each corner. At the beginning, it feels kind of like, okay, you run up here, you're middle of town, something bad's going to happen. And the first one was when the entire town comes after you.
Yeah.
And you've got to hole up in this one building and then maybe climb onto the roof. But by the third time I went through the game, I knew climb out on the balcony, and any one time someone's going to climb up, you could just stab them one time and kick the ladder over, and they've got to stand it back up. But that game was so creepy. We played in the dark in college.
Well, that's part of the key is being scared when you're playing a video game is darkness and quiet and yeah. I don't know. That's bringing up like jump scares and stuff. Actually, one of the games that I can think of when being scary is the first Resident Evil. There's a very specific point right near the beginning of the game. You're going down a hallway, and all of a sudden the dog through the window. Yeah. Scares the crap out of you because nothing had ever happened like that in a game before. But it's a jump scare, and going back and playing the game again, you know it's coming. And that's one of the problems with games is like because there are rules and because there's AI that you can figure out and understand how it reacts, you can take away that layer of scariness. And it's not, it's predictable and it's so yes, there are definitely jump scares in games, but I think games even more than movies, that jump scare really only works once.
Well, here's what they did. They re-released the game. They changed how that happened with the dogs.
Yeah?
So you walk through and you're afraid something's going to happen. You're like, wait, something's wrong. And then like the next window they get
change the window.
Something like
That's
that. They adjusted that kept that tension. They made some subtle tweaks where the zombie doesn't come out of door A, it comes out of door B, and you're expecting it, and then something different happens. So yeah, in movies, I think the jump scare only works the first time, but in games, you are so much more present in the moment because it is you, and you're controlling that character.
Yeah, that's true. There is a lot of immersion there. I was thinking as you were saying that, it reminded me of another game that I was playing one night, and it was lights were off, and it was just me with my headphones at my computer. So it's like the perfect environment to be very immersed in a game, but also get the poop scared out of you. Yeah. A game called Subnautica, which is, I think it's still technically in beta. It's a indie game where it's like a survival exploration game, but you're stranded on a planet by yourself, and this planet is all water. So it's an underwater exploration game. You swim around, you get submarines, you're collecting resources.
Waters make you feel so distant and alone.
It's really a moody game because all the environments underwater, like you said, they're different. They're kind of alien, and it feels good, but it also puts you off a little bit. But there's a giant. Spoiler alert for those of you who haven't played Subnautica. It's not a big spoiler, but there's a giant evil monster in part of this game that's underwater, huge, like a dragon thing. And the first time I encountered it, I kind of knew there was something out there, but I hadn't read about it all online, so I wasn't 100% sure. And I was like going in my little tiny submarine through the deep water, and you can start to hear it in the background, that reverberating sound. And then all of a sudden, it was there, and not only was it there, I didn't see it. It just immediately, and it grabs your submarine from the front, and all you can see on the screen is its mouth as it roars and grabs your submarine and is shaking, and it's like, and I can remember I literally tore my headset off, threw it on the ground because it scared me, because it was totally unexpected. A jump scare, but a jump scare in the best possible way, where I was totally immersed. I'm like, I'm in this deep, dark ocean, and I can hear something in the, but it's on you! It's like... So that was really effective, and it was all down to that mood that was set that made that jump scare way better.
Yeah, something about Resident Evil 4 is that the sound and the music are so good and moody that they know how to build tension. Like, something could happen, and here it's going to go. And then you could tell once the jump scare happened, or the big boss, it's almost like it's silence, Oh, it's okay now to adjust your inventory, go looking around for dropped gear. Yeah. But there was a game that constantly kept me on edge, and it wasn't because of the jump scares. It had to do with the theme that was so unnerving and unnatural. Yeah, and that was Doom.
I have that written down. That's my other name. My other game.
Oh man, because now as adults, I play Doom, and okay, there's a scary demon thing, and but younger, and the first game of its kind to do that sort of 3D that gave the illusion of depth.
Yeah.
Technically, it was a 2D game.
Yes, yeah. The way it's laid out, like from a coding standpoint, it's
from a coding
2D.
standpoint, it's 2D game,
Yeah.
but it feels like a 3D game. Same way that Wolfenstein was technically a 2D game.
Yeah, Doom added verticality to the levels. It was still
Or at least
false
the illusion,
verticality,
yeah.
but it was still there.
But just the design elements and the unnaturalness of the monsters.
Techno-gothic kind of thing, yeah.
I'd never seen anything like that. And I just remember the first time some of the demons, and then you killed them and there's blood everywhere.
Yeah.
What am I playing?
Gory and kind of scary. No, but actually, specifically the why I was thinking of Doom is actually one of the most terrifying things. And it's still, if I turn out the lights and have my headphones on, and because I play through Doom and Doom 2 pretty much every year because it's the best game ever made. Topic for another night. But Doom 2 specifically. But I play through those games at least once a year, and if I play it in the right setting, it still scares the pants off of me. And that is fighting the cyber demon.
Yeah.
The big cyber demon, because that level is just you and him in this big arena. But most of the time you can't see him. And you're running around collecting health, you're collecting ammo, and all it is you can hear the sound of him walking, and it's getting louder and louder. And it's the opposite of a jump scare. It's not a jump scare, which jump scares are scary, but they're cheap. It's, it scared you. That is a situation where it's this giant monster that is really hard to beat. You know he's probably going to kill you. He's getting closer. You're down on ammo. There's not much left. It's the situation that is just tense and scary, and the sound design just and then he stops, and then you hear the sound of him launching rockets, and you're like,
oh god, know what he's about to shoot at. Because it's usually, he might be shooting at the other end of the wall.
Yeah, sometimes he's going to completely miss, but sometimes he's going to get you.
Yeah.
Great game.
Well, I have one that I think you will reluctantly agree and remember is one of the scariest sounds in all of video games is a simple hiss. And that is before the creeper explodes.
Oh, God.
Minecraft can be one of the scariest games.
Yeah.
If you're playing survival,
yes.
If you are new to the game or maybe new to this world and you're playing survival, and that creeper sneaks up on you.
Yeah, same situation, dark, quiet. You're in the game. It's got that great moody music, and you're kind of, I'm just plugging away, digging some ore, like you said. And
you turn your back for too long. You hear a hiss, and then you freak out. You flail your mouse and your controller around because you're trying to get away really quickly, try to see where it is, and it's probably too late. It's
pure just flailing because you genuinely, you know that you're dead and there's nothing you can do about it. But you've got that moment where you realize you're dead, but you're not dead yet.
Not yet. And then they did the same thing with the Enderman because they based it on Slenderman.
Yeah.
So that you see it, but don't you dare look it in the eyes. Yeah. Because now it's going to go ape on you. It'll disappear and come at you from weird angles from behind. Yeah. And then it has this alien screeching sound.
Creepy and weird. Yeah.
It's so
creepy. They
creepy.
do a good job with that.
Depending on what you're playing and how long you've been playing, you may have armor that just makes you nigh on invulnerable.
Right.
But usually you're talking about leather and iron armor, if anything. You're just trying to build a simple wooden house. And you see that sparkly purple thing in the distance, or you hear that green. Sometimes you can see the green creepers.
Yep.
I don't know if I ever showed you. There was a problem on the multiplayer server that wasn't limiting how many mobs could spawn, and it looked like the gathering of all creepers. There was 50 or so in a very small radius, and it just looked like the apocalypse to me. It's like this is a survival legit server. I may have some diamond armor on, but if a couple of those blow up near me, that's it. Everything. That's all she wrote. Yeah. And everything I have is going to get blown up too. Yep. So once you die and everything drops...
Yeah, because then everything else keeps exploding.
The next thing that blows up, we're goners. So funny how that can be one of the most peaceful, relaxing games. It can also be one of the most inspiring games. Yep. And also scares me to death.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Cyrus, Halloween hypothetical. Okay, so let's imagine that you're able to you're going to be trick or treating this year. For whatever reason, it's allowable as an adult to trick or treat. Just ignore that.
I dig it.
You're able to trick or treat this year, and I give you a magic wish, and using this wish, you are able to be given a costume to wear. And it can be any costume of unlimited complexity and detail. It's going to fit you perfectly, etc., etc. You don't have to work. It's just poof, and you've got this costume. You're going to wear it trick-or-treating. What's your costume?
If you had asked me a week ago, I would have said something. Well, typically I want the dream. Genie says, "Poof, here you go."
Yeah.
The more ornate, the better.
Yeah. Something really bigger, intense. Yeah.
Because I don't mind wearing costume pieces. I don't mind wearing prosthetics. So I would have said one of two characters from Farscape.
Okay.
One being Dargo.
Yeah,
he's the warrior, basically the Klingon of their series. Because it's just a beautiful piece that they created for him to have this sort of protective shell nose thing and then sort of tendrils coming off of his head. It's gorgeous. And he was already a big... Alan Simcoe is his name. Already kind of a big guy, and they made him look even bigger and grander with that costume. But my favorite character is John Crichton.
Yeah.
Very simple costume. It's basically kind of a buzz cut, a black leather jacket, and some of the best, slickest looking pistol costume pieces that I've ever seen. So I would say something like that because I think it's kind of cool, and you could wear that type of a costume again and again. And the jacket itself that he wore in about season 3 was gorgeous. But recently, the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer.
The Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 trailer.
And to be Peter Quill.
The Star-Lord.
Again, still talking leather jacket, but that red leather jacket and that face piece is so cool. And it's iconic without being Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And his blaster is awesome as well. At least the movie interpretation based on what he had in the comics. Yeah. And since my hedgehog is named after Peter Quill, I think that would be a good homage to my son.
All right.
Little Peter Quill.
That's a good choice.
What about you?
I went a different way with it when I was thinking, because I was thinking about, what costume would I love to have? Kind of the same way, like a cosplay costume, something that, a character. And I decided, it's a Halloween costume, so I'm going to go different with that. And there's one of two ways I would go. One is like a... hard to explain, but sort of like a robot alien, maybe even if we're being Dream with Genie kind of stuff here, with the capability to hover and fly, like a light up shooting laser beam costume. I was talking earlier about the drone with the lighting system on it that looks spitting image like a UFO. Something like that, where I can just freak people out.
I would be the Starship Enterprise.
They'll see me coming through the woods and there's lights and all kinds of craziness. That would be fun. Okay. But I think what I would go with...
With a humanoid, maybe?
Yeah, maybe humanoid. I think what I would go with, actually, though, would be a screen accurate, really, really cool prosthetic werewolf costume.
Okay, yeah.
A really scary looking, maybe even with some glowing eyes. Looks like an actual werewolf. Because it's Halloween, and I want to creep through the woods and scare people with my costume. So I want to be something scary and spooky.
I was trying to think of something that would make me feel cool and powerful. And then also, I'm thinking, if a genie's granting me this wish, I could go take this to Dragon Con and get 1,000 pictures. I wasn't thinking about actually trick-or-treating and psychological warfare.
See, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking about actually being out at night.
Then if I could add another one, if the genie said, hey, you get another one.
Okay.
Predator. With the expanding face.
That would be cool. When the laser... So the kid's walking and he gets the three lasers on it.
Yeah. And the kid doesn't get it, but the dad pees himself.
Yeah.
And then you have your maw flail open like a spider.
Only if it had the cloaking system, too. To where you
so you said screen accurate.
Yeah, you can turn invisible. And
but then again, that would start my life of crime, and I probably don't need the invisibility cloaking system. So I'll just stick with Peter Quill for this year.
Okay, fair enough. That's a safe bet.
We were talking about Halloween parties towards the beginning of the podcast, and one of the things that I remember was that at Halloween we always have the TV on, and even in the background, so that those who were not trick-or-treating would have something they could watch. If we didn't have music on, then we would have some sort of sound in the background. But it would need to be sort of Halloween themed. So it made me think of the type of things that I like to watch around Halloween, or something to put me in the mood. So one of the ones that came up, and this is the thing that we had almost on repeat, was the Rocky Horror Picture Show. What a classic, creepy, catchy music. And what happened was it would be on VH1 when they used to do that kind of thing.
Right.
And they would play it 3 or 4 times in a row, starting at like 5 o'clock at night. And so throughout the evening, you could catch most of the movie and go, oh wait, here's that scene I like, and could watch it over and over again. And it helped me fall in love with the musical. I think it's one of the strongest and most interesting, but also really crazy.
It's weird.
It's not one that I think I could audition for, unless I get to be well, not even the motorcycle that Meatloaf rides. I don't know what I could be. I think I could be the globe at the beginning and end. That's what I would audition for. I would be Globy.
You know what's on my list of least favorite Halloween things?
Least favorite Halloween things?
Yeah.
Rocky Horror Picture Show. Really?
I hate Rocky Horror Picture Show. I really do.
Really? That's awesome.
I don't like musicals just in general. I'm not a musical kind of guy. So I don't like that aspect.
How do you fit in with our group of friends then? Because we're a bunch of theater nerds.
Yeah, I know. That's wonderful. I let other people enjoy that. I'll be eating the candy corn that you guys hate.
Okay.
No, I'm not a musical person. I don't like... I don't know. It's a weird movie, and it feels like it's weird for the sake of being weird, and it's been adopted by people that have this culture around it just because it's weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel... I don't like things where people don't like them earnestly. Where people go to watch Rocky Horror Picture Show, I want to think that they're watching it because they love the movie, but I feel like so many people love that movie because it's weird and because it's funny and you can make fun of it almost and be weird, and it's an excuse to be... You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, it's an excuse to be weird. I think I like it for the reasons for its original production and broadcast. I'm not part of the culture that got into almost... Because it's weird. It's like they celebrate it, but they also make fun of it at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think it was just an interesting gothic glam rock kind of musical that had some real funny moments, and Tim Curry is just sort of a god in this position. Tim Curry is so great.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a stick in the mud. Maybe I just don't get it. And maybe the people who love it earnestly for being a weird glam.
And I can't say that I get it completely.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah,
because I like a lot of weird stuff. I don't know. I've never been a fan, and that culture that surrounds it has always made me not interested.
Well, I think just because of my exposure to it at a young age.
Yeah.
I can't read it. I don't know every word by heart. I don't know every character's name by heart. But if it were to come on TV, I'd probably watch it. However, did you see this year? I think it's this week.
It, right?
They're remaking it with a very interesting cast. The only person I could see doing a good job, I think Victoria Justice, which is a former Disney star. And she did an MTV show that failed pretty quickly. She's a talented actress and a good-looking gal, and she started as a singer, so she can do pretty well. And she's going to play the female lead. And so I hope it does well for the cast, because it's like a relatively young and relatively unknown group. But don't mess with what works.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I guess I should be more positive, and I'm not bad about it. I don't think it's necessarily bad.
It's okay if you don't like it.
It's not my cup of tea.
I probably wouldn't like it if I didn't watch it on VH1 every Halloween.
If you were growing up with it. Yeah. I definitely didn't, so maybe that's why. Well, I tell you what, I should talk about something I enjoy. In general, and I can touch on some of the films I like, or shows I like for the Halloween and setting the mood, but in general, I would say my preference is not... I don't like super scary stuff. I mean, I appreciate scary stuff for what it is, but I'm not like a big horror movie fan. I don't like, ooh, let's watch something creepy and spooky. Okay, yeah, whatever. But so my favorite Halloween stuff are fun
Yeah, and whatever gets you in the Halloween mood, whatever that is to you, it doesn't have to be scary necessarily.
Yeah, I like I said, the attraction to Halloween in my mind is that adventureness and that fighting the supernatural rather than being subjected to the supernatural. Yeah. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Is it a 2-word movie name?
I don't know what are you looking for.
Do you have a movie about fighting the supernatural?
There is one that I was going to mention, actually. We're talking about Monster
Squad? Yeah. Dude, absolutely.
I was about to put Monster Squad on my list of favorite Halloween movies.
Oh, yeah.
It's on my list of least favorite.
Really?
Because it's terrible.
It is,
it's such
so
a bad movie.
The Frankenstein monster.
Oh, it's really sad at the end when he has to go on the... But...
Monster Squad.
I'm trying to take myself out of it and recognize the fact that it's terrible.
Okay.
Well,
this is about you.
I'm trying to be honest and be like, it has a lot of fond memories for me. But
I would not
really
call
bad.
it a film. I would call it a movie.
It's one of the. It's true. It's not art.
It's not a film.
It's not a movie that I would, if like my nieces and nephews, all 10 and 11 and 12 years old, were coming over for a Halloween party.
That's not what I put
It's not the movie I would put on.
I also would put on the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, that's true, but that's for a different reason. But you know what I'm saying. Like, we can appreciate it for nostalgia's sake, but I think that's all that Monster Squad has going for it is nostalgia.
I watched it a few years ago, and yeah, there's some pacing that's really terrible. But
just not
when the kid says "Wolfman's got nards," that is classic.
It's a classic line from my childhood. And I was
talking something about Wolfman Anatomy.
Yeah, that's true. Now I know. And when I had that Wolfman costume, it's going to have
You knew
nards.
It was anatomically correct.
It's going to have nards.
Sorry, I have to do a segue, but when I played the Big Bad Wolf for Into the Woods in high school, I auditioned for the part, didn't know much about the song. The song is incredibly hard with all the minor key changes that it has. And then we saw the Broadway version where he was anatomically correct. So I'm sitting in a room full of half girls that I think are pretty and want to kiss, and the others that think that I'm pretty and want to kiss. And all of a sudden, my character comes on stage with genitalia, and I am beet red.
So then you went out and bought a couple of potatoes to put down your costume.
It was like that and worse. Okay, so what would be one of your favorites?
One of my favorites, one I go back to a lot, I've always enjoyed Army of Darkness.
That's a good choice.
Army of Darkness is kind of, that's not necessarily my number one go-to movie, but it is a great representation of the kind of Halloween movie I like.
Some camp.
It's campy. There's gothic horror to it, but it's not. The part where there's an eyeball in his shoulder is kind of pretty, actually, genuinely creepy.
True.
But it's funny and silly and fun, and there's adventure and there's comedy and there's bad guys that you hate, and there's a little bit of violence and gore, but it's not overbearing. That's the kind of thing I'm looking for. Army of Darkness, Tremors. I thought of. It's not really a Halloween movie, but it.
That just reminds me of a Friday night at my dad's house watching bad horror movies.
I love
on
it.
HBO.
That's the kind of comedy horror. I enjoy comedy horror.
The first Tremors was pretty freaky.
It's genuinely kind of scary when they find the dude up on he's like climbed up the thing and he's been up there for a week and he's all like rotted or they find the dude underground. It's pretty cool. It's a good movie.
I think there's one that I would pick that I wouldn't choose just to be in alignment with you, but you'd probably like it too. And I'm pretty sure we talked about it on the podcast before. Any of the Treehouse of Horrors.
Sure.
Any Simpsons
they're
Halloween special.
Yeah, absolutely.
The first maybe 5 seasons were the best.
That's a good call,
when they have the one that was, I think it was all Edgar Allan Poe, or they did the Raven
poem, it was pretty cute.
And it was Bart.
Yeah, Bart's the Raven.
Evermore. Creepy, but I think it taught me that poem in a way that hearing it before, because it was James Earl Jones.
Yes,
as the narrator, which made it creepy. I love Treehouse Horrors.
Yeah, watching, like you said, the first 5, 6, 7 of those kind of in order would probably be a good Halloween night.
And I have about 3 of those still somewhere in storage on VHS.
Oh,
so
right, old school.
If I still had a VCR,
I've got one. We've got one that works.
Do we?
As far as I know, it's right over there.
I think we just made our Halloween plans.
There you go. Treehouse of Horror on VHS. What else for you? Any other movies you really like or really don't like?
If I needed to
Halloween?
be scared, I would watch something from the Nightmare on Elm Street series
That's a good
because
series.
that was one of my favorites as a psychological horror.
Mm-hmm.
Because it had to do with dreams and what's real and what's not.
Yeah, the
And
concept is really pretty scary.
for a time, the mythos was kind of solid.
Yeah.
Up until about the fifth one, I think, is when they started.
Yeah.
You can now take things in and out of dreams, and now I can join your dream. But I felt like they had a way to almost win, and I like that when you see the bad guy's weakness, and if you're smart enough, you can outthink the devil.
Yeah.
That was always cool for me.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
But I have two that I think align very well with your joy of Halloween, and that is Addams Family.
Okay, yeah, the first one?
The first one?
The first movie,
not Family Values.
Yeah.
The first one,
Yeah.
or Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice is on my list.
God, I love Beetlejuice.
Hilarious movie.
So
Keaton,
funny.
probably Michael Keaton's best movie. I guess Birdman, but Michael Keaton is just perfect.
I'm going to say this is Michael Keaton's
He
best.
is hilarious in that movie. It's creepy and weird. There's a little bit of horror in there, but that's a fun movie.
And Tim Burton, what he's able to do, the musical score is mind-boggling. How it builds with this chaos that ends up being momentum. I always loved the art style of it.
It's a good movie. It's a good choice. I don't know. I was thinking about this more, and some of the other. Let me see what else is on my list. I've got Ghostbusters on my list too.
Ghostbusters would be a good one, and I'm kind of mad at myself for not thinking of that one.
Falling in that same category with Army of Darkness, Beetlejuice. I was thinking as a greater whole, 80s movies in general.
80s horror comedy.
There's something about the 80s aesthetic that, Stranger Things captured perfectly. Honestly, I was even thinking when I was thinking about this list, E.T. Because there's a scene when Halloween in E.T. But even like just E.T. in general, the aesthetic of it's
well, E.T.
dark.
did a thing that I think it's Spielberg's trope that dark is scary. No, light white is scary, and so anytime you saw a bright white light, that was more scary and more stark and more intriguing than the shadows around you. And E.T. did sort of play really well off suspense. And it was
the opening
scary.
scene where E.T.'s running from the feds and they're trying to catch him in the woods. It's kind of depressing, distressing.
E.T. raises his head up to the full height and screams at Elliot because Elliot's screaming at him.
Yeah,
that is a scary animatronic.
It is. Yeah. So that I was just thinking about the 80s movies as a whole. Almost everyone, Gremlins is another good example.
I thought of Gremlins too.
They're not necessarily Halloween movies, but 80 movies in general had this like creepy aesthetic to them that doesn't exist anymore. I don't know why that is.
Here's what Gremlins and Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
To me, those are Christmas movies.
Yeah, Gremlins.
Like Harry Potter to me is a Christmas movie in a weird way.
Yeah, it can be. They
think
usually
of
came out at Christmas, I think, but
well, they always like celebrate Christmas in the movie, and they have some snowy scenes. But I've always felt like Gremlins is the perfect Christmas movie.
It is. It's weird. Yeah. Oh no, I actually have the Harry Potter films in general on my list. Those are good Halloween movies because I don't know. I think more than anything, it's the score.
Score's incredible.
The theme to Harry Potter sounds like a Halloween song.
Sounds like a music box.
You're dealing with wizards and magic and black cats and all this stuff. So there's a lot of like interplay there. I think those are good. That's probably the best testament to that 80s feel that I'm talking about. Is like this kind of. It's not grimdark. It's not Batman. It's not. It's spooky and dark and mysterious and adventurous and.
It's one of the few movies that has set that kind of mood without saying, "Hey, we're trying to be scary over here."
Yeah.
Instead, it's a little bit of the unknown. It's a little bit of the mystery that still remains. Yeah. And we're probably not going to tell you about it for another 3 or 4 movies, but we'll give you a little taste now that as you said, the 80s probably held a little more true.
Well, so speaking along that same line, here's a movie that's on my best of and worst of.
Best of, worst of?
Yeah. Goonies.
I was thinking you would say that. I don't see it at all being a Halloween movie, but it is one of the best.
But it has that same 80s spooky aesthetic. There's Sloth is kind of scary.
Yes.
Sloth?
Sloth.
Not Chunk.
Chunk's the fat kid.
Chunk's okay.
who has the baby Ruth that he gives to Sloth.
But Sloth's kind of scary. There's pirates. There's skeletons. Yeah, it can be scary.
It's scary.
So, but I was thinking about it. I was thinking about this film. Is it that good? Is Goonies held up?
Yes. If you watch it again, there is virtually no CG. The real only CG that you see is when the rocks fall before the ship departs from the island cove, and then the ship on the horizon.
It's matting,
The rest is all practical effects, and looks good.
It does,
and that's the thing. Another thing with the '80s movies, as much practical effects that you can get on screen. Yep. Monster Squad had a swirling vortex of computer generated. The rest are just people on strings flying around.
Sure. It was way cheaper to do practical at that time. So
cheaper, but it looks
better. It always looks better. It still looks better even to this day.
That's the thing that's working with the new Star Wars movie. The more practical effects that you can showcase, then again, there's a lot a lot more CG than we're aware, but the more you can put BB-8 on screen.
Yeah. As an actual robot.
As an actual person pushing around a ball on a stick, the better it's going to look.
Well, but do you think Goonies has helped, not just effects-wise, but like story and character-wise?
100%.
Is it a good movie?
Now, granted, it still speaks to the 80s, but
it does.
If my nephew, if I were to sit him down and my wife, whoa, if my sister said it was okay, and he watched that movie, I guarantee it would be one of his favorites. Because he would want to adventure. He would want to put on a backpack, ride a bike, find a pirate ship, find treasure, save his family, fire off pinchers of power. I think so. I think it's one of those movies that a sequel would not do it any justice, which is a thing that they've been struggling with.
I really hope they don't bother.
Years now. Probably won't.
Yeah, I was just because I was thinking about Monster Squad and how it honestly it doesn't hold up because it's not that good of a movie. It holds up for you and I, but for the younger generation,
as an homage to the Universal monster movies in the past.
But I don't know about Goonies. I need to go back and watch it again and see how good it is. But
you cannot ask for a better soundtrack than Cyndi Lauper.
It's true. Cyndi Lauper's good, and everything.
And the Truffle Shuffle.
Always appropriate.
Add that together, you've got a fantastic movie series.
Anything else? I don't know. Any other movies you like or don't like?
There's something. It's not a movie, and this puts me in the mood, but I don't often watch it.
Yep.
It tends to be kind of like an earlier in the afternoon, and it's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know why, but something about that speaks to my childhood.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Even if it's the regular Peanuts theme, but the idea of Linus having faith waiting on the Great Pumpkin to show up, and all the other little plot lines the kids are going through. It's one of the only cartoons I've seen from that era that tries to do anything spooky from a child point of view.
You're right. Yeah, I agree. I think it goes back to what I was talking about. The 80s perspective, where 80s movies in general, and Peanuts even does it, is they're looking from a kid's perspective,
child's eyes.
They genuinely are. Whereas modern film, you look at Harry Potter. I don't think Harry Potter's from a child's perspective. It's a film told from an adult's perspective, but the characters are kids.
The books are told better from a child's perspective.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree.
Than the movies.
But I think the films, because most the people who are paying for movie tickets are adults. You look at what's popular now. It's not stories about kids fighting monsters. It's stories about adults fighting monsters.
Young adults trying to be adults fighting monsters.
Yeah, okay, I agree with that. Yeah, I think we're asking children to look up to 18-year-olds as something to aspire to instead of having a 12-year-old be the hero.
But then again, you have something like Stranger Things, which you come back to.
Stranger Things is a great example, but
the kids act like kids.
But who's talking about how much they love Stranger Things?
Adults.
People our age.
People
who grew up with that kind of thing.
Well, you can't let a kid watch a movie about the other side, the upside down world.
We used to watch all kinds of scary stuff when we were kids.
That's true.
It made us stronger for
That's true. I could. Again, my nephew's probably a little too young.
How old is he?
I don't know, about 8.
Oh, well, he's old enough.
No,
put him in front of Goonies.
About 10 or 11.
No, he's old enough for Goonies for sure. 10 or 11. I was watching real slasher horror movies at 10 or 11.
There's hand over sweater jokes here. We're talking second base. That's a little too much for a 10.
He's not gonna grow up right unless you push him to it.
I'm not gonna push him to second base, no matter how much you want me to. No, you're right. Eventually, they're going to watch worse than that. But
Yeah.
if they get indoctrinated to it, I watched way too many rated R movies at a young age that I probably shouldn't have. But if my dad thought it was okay,
Should you have though?
but I remember, and this is a little off topic, but but still kind of true to Halloween.
Yeah.
Late at night, I was told to go to bed. About an hour later, I knew there was a movie going to be watched in the living room. I sneak around the corner, and it's Faces of Death.
It's a little different now.
Yes, no, I'm not denying that.
Yeah.
But I watched some incredibly weird, bizarre, horrific things that helped me kind of figure out what mortality is, and eventually you're going to see something like that.
Yeah, I think kids need to face those kinds of issues. I don't know if Faces of Death is a good choice for that. But a film
maybe Goonies. I think Stranger Things is it's another step into the horror realm.
Yeah, it's a little bit too gory. I think
it's a little too dark. It's about a kid dying at the beginning. A kid.
There's lots of '80s movies where kids died. I was thinking about this the other day. Well, Stand By Me is a good example. Never-ending Story. The part where
that is
Atreyu and what's his horse's name?
Artax.
Yeah, he sinks into the swamp.
But do you know why the horse doesn't speak? The horse spoke in the book.
Okay.
And because they were going to kill off the horse in the movie, they had it so it was a little less anthropomorphized, a little less human.
But even still, I remember that scene as a kid, and it's genuinely traumatizing. But at the same time, it helps you deal when you're exposed to that earlier. It helps you deal with it. It helps you realize that the world. That's what all of these films, and that's what even going back to when we first started our podcast, we were talking about. I was talking about the core of Halloween and how it's about getting out and exploring. This is what I'm talking about. It's teaching kids that the world is a big, scary place,
but
and that you need to be strong and not be afraid of it.
I don't know. Yes. When it comes to death, I think it's better to explore that Happy Horsey died. Yeah. Or even Nana or Pawpaw died, but not another little boy or little girl.
I agree, and I don't know that I would show Stranger Things to a little kid. For that and other reasons.
So I'll agree. Goonies, okay. Yeah. We'll do that, because the kids all come out okay.
Even E.T. E.T. dies in E.T. Spoiler alert.
No, he doesn't.
E.T. dies.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he does.
He's almost dead.
Elliot brings him back to life. He's all white and milky. He's dead, bro.
I learned this in Princess Bride. He's mostly dead.
Close enough.
He wasn't all dead.
When you're a little kid, he's dead.
When you're a little kid, yeah.
And so those are the.
But he wasn't, and that's the redeeming.
No, he was, and he came back to life. So maybe that's not a good lesson to teach kids.
Wait, is E.T. a Jesus analogy we didn't realize?
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Wow. You missed the part where he's walking around in sandals and talking about how he heals lepers?
Wait, no. Because he does. Because this is seriously weirding me out now, because he. How long was he dead there? No, he wasn't dead for 3 days. Because I was thinking, when he comes back to life that very same night, he rises back up to the heavens.
It's true, he does.
This is tripping me out.
I think we're getting a little too into the mythos of E.T.
Wow. Oh, I think we need to go back to just regular kids' scary movies, for goodness sake.
Well, you know what I'm saying. I think kids' movies and Halloween in general has become sanitized and safe, and I'm not saying that kids shouldn't be kept safe, because of course they should, but kids should be allowed to think that they're not sometimes, because it's traumatizing, but a trauma is good in a certain way, because you have to be, because if you grow up feeling like everything's always safe and your mommy's always going to be there to take care of you, you're never going to be able to, as an adult, make important decisions, make dangerous decisions, make bold decisions, go out on a limb, be by yourself, not be you're always going to feel like you have to stay protected.
I think that's putting just a little too much responsibility on Halloween's shoulders. I think it's a soupçon of that. I think it's a pinch of that, and that's part of the fun, because it's just like jumping off the high dive. It's scary, but you're okay. But that's just a little dollop of fear. that makes you feel like you're alive, gets the adrenaline pumped that you get to enjoy.
Yeah.
But then you go back to your comfort, your safety, your sugar buzz, your cartoons on the TV, your Fraggle Rock Halloween episode. I don't think there was one, but there really should have been.
There's nothing wrong with having that safe place to go back to. You should have a safe place to go back to because that's important. But I feel like, I'm thinking back to like TV shows growing up. I'm sure they still do, but they always had the Halloween episode. Sure. I'm thinking about my favorite Halloween episode of one of my favorite TV shows growing up, Pete and Pete. There was a Halloween episode of Pete and Pete called Halloweenies.
Yes.
Where there were the group of like the older teenagers who terrorized the neighborhood, and like so all the kids were out trying to get their candy and get home before the Halloweenies came out and just took their candy or whatever. And the part of that episode is owning up to that the world is a little scary, and you have to stand up to that scariness, and you have to say, no, I'm gonna do, I think those are important lessons that kids have to learn. And I think that Halloween is one of the few times in my life, in my childhood, that I remember learning that lesson. That there's sometimes when you have to stand up and you have to be brave and you have to stand on your own.
For the most part, 80s television shows were better for kids. Late 80s, maybe even a few early 90s shows.
Yeah, Pete and
Pete and Clarissa Explains It All were actually pretty good. And I would say, if you're going to follow the generations ahead, Boy Meets World and Girl Meets World, it's even coming out today, are all great shows that allow children to watch other children or young teens make mistakes, make decisions, and try to have a, positive experience from it. Although Pete and Pete, they always could lean back on having their own private superhero.
They did. Well, yeah. Artie was there. He wasn't in that episode that I recall, though. I don't think he was. I don't think Artie wasn't. Artie left partway through, I believe, the second season
because they didn't need him anymore.
That was one of the best episodes of that series. Is the spoiler alert? Artie says, "You don't need me anymore. Yeah. You're growing up, and you're strong enough without me." And those are important lessons for kids to learn, and I don't think they learn it these days. And so, Girl Meets World is a great example. You're talking about Girl Meets World. Who's the audience for that show?
It is both.
I think it's us. It's not kids. Kids are not watching that show. Same thing with Stranger Things. Kids are not watching Stranger Things.
Now, granted, it's not. Yeah, kids aren't watching Stranger Things, and probably shouldn't watch that one.
No, I don't.
Kids are watching Girl Meets World, but not in as huge droves as they were watching Hannah Montana.
Yeah.
But that's also because we're not. We would set them in front of the television and say, you have to watch this because it's the Disney Channel and it's the only thing on that you can watch. Now kids can go through whatever they want because now they have control of their tablets.
They're on the internet. They're not watching, So it's like, kids are watching dumb YouTubers doing stupid crap.
But they're not watching our YouTube stuff.
That's true. Watch our stuff, kids. God. We'll tell you how the world really works.
Okay, so the lessons we're learning tonight. Number one, children need to be adventurous on Halloween. They need to be afraid that they're going to die.
Yes.
And if they're going to watch anything on YouTube...
You know what? Yes.
Yes, they do.
Kids need to be afraid for their lives.
And if there's anything you watch on YouTube, it should be our videos.
Not PewDiePie.
Not PewDiePie. He's got enough. He is one of the few YouTube millionaires. I would like to be a 37-cent heir.
He is scary, but not for the reasons we're talking about tonight.
You're talking about. I think when it comes to Halloween, nostalgia is one of the things that automatically jumps to mind, and so that's why we think about the candies we loved as kids. We think about the movies and the games that inspire us, because one day we might have families, and we have friends and family who have their families, and so we sort of build back to the childhood we once had and throw those parties as adults. Make those candies that look like fingers that are cut off, or the punch with the spiders in the floating ice cube.
The when you take a rubber glove and fill it with water and let it freeze, so you have a frozen hand.
Oh, I should do that. Now, we always did the spider rings, cut off the ring, put them in the mold, and so that bundt cake mold that floats the top has all the spiders in it. And then I thought, that means the spiders are going to get out when it melts. I never liked that.
Make your cocktail taste like spider.
Ew. But that's kind of what nostalgia is for us, and I think it's fun to relive those memories, because I know a lot of people out there have something the same, or maybe there are movies and candies and things that they would do maybe there are rituals that are different that this inspires them to think back about what it was like to be a kid.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we've been talking about mostly tonight, is just our remembrances and why Halloween is an important time for us. I mean, it was, looking back, it's not my favorite holiday of the year. It's not like we have friends that really look forward to Halloween. That's a big deal for them, and I'm not going to say it's a big deal for me because I'm not into horror and stuff like that. But looking back, Halloween as a kid especially was an important time. Not even knowing it at the time, but knowing it now, looking back on how it influenced my life, and I think it's been an important time, and it's been nice to kind of reminisce and talk about how it's affected us. And like I said, maybe some people out there have different things. Maybe Halloween wasn't good for them, or maybe Halloween's today are different for them than they are for us.
And it's weird because it's like passing on traditions sometimes too. Yeah. Like any other actual holiday, high holy day, where you do certain things at Christmas, or you do certain things at Easter, you do certain things for 4th of July when you have your cookouts, or you go to the pool, or you go to the beach. Same thing might be true for Halloween. So I think it's kind of cool that you can almost pass on the fun and frivolity and the willingness to be adventurous and explore and test what's okay to be scared about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, the next few weeks are going to be busy for us. We've got a couple projects in the can with more to come, and enjoy bringing these podcasts to you. So as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to send those to us through the Facebook page, and also you can leave comments on our personal YouTube pages. I am the Crafty Bastard Gamer on YouTube,
and I am 9 to 5 Gamer, also on YouTube.
And thank you for listening. We'll catch you next time on the FoundryCast.
Yeah, have a really spooky Halloween, but have a safe Halloween. If you're out and about, drive safe, and indulge in your candy or your other refreshments in a responsible way.
And if you're spending the holiday with me, maybe you can convince me to tell my ghost story. And I challenge you guys to share your favorite spooky stories with your loved ones and enjoy the occasion. And for now, with the FoundryCast, I am a giant bowl of candy corn.
And I want to suck your blood.
We'll see you next time on the FoundryCast.
Good night, everyone.
But you're the Count from Sesame Street. That's not... Don't ask questions. I think one of my fallbacks here is sixlets, because there's a little bit of sugar to get through, but once you get to the chocolate, and it's the cheap chocolate, it goes so good with the beer. This has been a candy tip from the Crafty Bastard Gamer.